I think the ridiculous notion is for either one of you all to have the audacity to believe that you understand what the experience is to be.
I have to object to that.
But you just said
I cannot talk about it because I am not part of a group. I am a sentient human being. You're right. There's two ways you cannot understand something. One is to be too far from it. We're too far from it. We can't see like you can. One is to be too close to something. And then sometimes you can't see it accurately either.
Bill Maher has officially torched his bridges with the left and is blazing toward political exile. While he hasn't explicitly confessed this betrayal, his scorching takedowns and merciless confrontations with Democratic guests expose the ugly truth. In one explosive episode, Maher absolutely obliterated his guest for weaponizing race, delivering a brutal verbal beatdown that left viewers stunned. The carnage was absolutely devastating. Smash that like button and subscribe immediately for more incendiary content that exposes political hypocrisy.
I noticed that at the Super Bowl, for the first time in, I think, 4 years now, the Trump administration is making them take away "end racism," which they had written in the end zone, right? And when
why? It just seems silly. I mean,
to do it or not to do it?
Why get rid of it?
Oh, I could tell you why.
I know, but it's just like
because it was stupid to begin with.
Yeah, but
let me ask you, who is it for? And if you're a racist and you see "end racism" in the end zone, you're going to stop being a racist?
That's leftist media correspondent Tara Palm-Mary espousing the woke left's usual brand of meaningless virtue signaling, tossing out buzzwords as if they were solutions. But Bill Maher wasn't buying it. He stopped her dead in her tracks with a simple but cutting question that exposed the hollowness of her argument. She froze. No witty comeback. No clever deflection. Just the realization that her slogans carried no weight when pressed against reality. And that's the problem, isn't it? Too often, the left mistakes catchy phrases and moral grandstanding for genuine progress. They shout about justice, equity, and inclusion. But when it comes to addressing real, pressing issues, crime, borders, inflation, national security, they go silent. Maher's pushback reminded everyone that words without substance are nothing more than empty noise. Sometimes I wonder if these activists ever stop to consider that their slogans change nothing in the lives of ordinary Americans.
Sentiment is basically like, don't be a...
But I think it's an to nag us during a football game about something that doesn't change anything or any. If I'm not a racist and I see it, it doesn't matter. And if I am a racist, it's going to make me more of a racist.
Like, I think if you write, "don't be an on the end zone," everybody will agree with that.
Now, for those who might not be paying attention, the "End Racism" slogan didn't disappear because the president snapped his fingers. It vanished because corporate America finally woke up from its woke-induced coma. For the better part of a decade, CEOs and PR teams bent the knee, plastering meaningless slogans and rainbow-colored logos everywhere to appease the Twitter mob and fringe activists. It wasn't about solving anything. It was about survival in a culture ruled by outrage. But here's the twist. The tide has turned. The woke virus has lost its grip, and corporations are quietly retreating, ditching hollow virtue signals and crawling back to their original messaging. Translation: the mob doesn't scare them anymore, and the performative pandering is officially out of style.
Under the previous administration, we would have inquiries. We would request information. We would want cabinet secretaries and assistant secretaries and deputy secretaries to come before committee. We would send letter after letter after letter and get no response. The Biden administration operated literally in the shadows. They would not tell you anything that was going on. At least Donald Trump puts it out in the litany of orders that come out that day. Here's what we're doing today. We're going into the Department of Justice. We are taking these attorneys and they are under supervisory review, or however they choose to phrase it. You knew nothing that was going on in Joe Biden's
Meanwhile, these very same people have the audacity to call themselves the champions of democracy. But what kind of democracy hides the truth from its own people? With them, transparency is a myth. Every story is wrapped in secrecy. Every press conference carefully staged. Every narrative manipulated. And when they finally decide to come clean, it's never the truth. It's another layer of spin and deception. For the Democrats, the closer you look, the less you actually see. Because behind the curtain, it's all smoke, mirrors, and political theater. Contrast that with Trump, who, whether you agree with him or not, built his brand on promises delivered. Democrats, on the other hand, are masters of broken pledges. Just look at Biden, who swore he'd respect the rule of law and let his son face justice. Yet, when the moment of truth came, he pulled the strings to shield him. Classic hypocrisy.
A bunch of privileged mean girls complaining about privilege and trying to make fetch happen. What a shocker that the people who see everything through the lens of race and sex see their election loss as a result of racism and sexism. Yes, if only we weren't so irredeemably unenlightened, we would have elected a black president by now. Oh, what, we did? Oh, right, and then re-elected him. Maybe you missed it because it wasn't on TikTok.
Bill Maher didn't let up. He kept tearing into Terrap Mary for doing what so many on the left do. Closing her eyes to reality and reducing every issue to the tired lens of race and sex. It's the same worn-out script the Democratic National Committee has been running for years. Divide people into categories, play identity politics, and hope no one notices the lack of real solutions. But America isn't buying it anymore. Voters have caught on to the game, and the DNC's favorite playbook is starting to look more like a bad rerun than a strategy. The tragedy, though, is that they refuse to step away from that hill. Instead of adapting, they're doubling down, clinging to the same divisive narratives that once gave them power, but now expose their emptiness. Maher's pushback only underscored the point. This obsession with identity over substance is a losing battle, and the clock is ticking.
And sexism? Hillary got 3 million more votes than Trump, which in a normal country would be called a victory. It wasn't 21st century sexism that prevented a woman from being president. It was the Electoral College. Democrats run for office as if the voters don't live here, as if they don't go to the grocery store and Starbucks and the office. But they do. They live here.
The Democrats love to push the narrative that America didn't vote for Kamala Harris or Hillary Clinton simply because of their gender. It's their favorite excuse, a ready-made shield to deflect from their failures. But as Bill Maher bluntly points out, that's never been the case. Voters didn't reject them because they were women. They rejected them because the Democratic Party refuses to engage with the issues that actually matter to everyday Americans. Instead of addressing rising costs, border chaos, crime in major cities, or the crumbling trust in government, Democrats would rather waste time obsessing over pronouns, policing language, and turning every discussion into a lecture on gender or race. Maher's critique lands hard because it's true. People aren't turned off by female candidates. They're turned off by a party that seems more invested in identity politics than in real solutions. And that's why they keep losing ground.
And they actually see women and people of color. And it doesn't look like some patriarchal, racist nightmare. Kamala spent 100 days telling voters, I know it feels like crime and illegal immigration are bad, but f*** your feelings. Look at this chart. Yes, there's a lot to not like already about the new regime, but maybe take 1 week to ask what you did wrong. The basis for Democratic campaigns has become, we're the smart people. That we know from the get.
And that right there has always been the core problem with the Democrats. They walk around convinced they're the smartest people in the room. Anyone who dares disagree with their worldview or refuses to swallow their ideology is automatically dismissed as ignorant, backward, or uneducated. It's an arrogance that drips into every speech, every debate, every media soundbite. On top of that, they indulge in relentless moral grandstanding, lecturing the rest of the country as if they hold the monopoly on virtue. Frankly, it's nauseating. This holier-than-thou attitude hasn't just made them insufferable. It's driven a wedge through the nation. Instead of persuading people, they shamed them. Instead of building coalitions, they alienate anyone outside their bubble. And in doing so, they've managed to push away more than half of America, leaving a party that claims to be inclusive, but practices the politics of exclusion.
Well, all you have to do is ask my father, who literally was shot in the Orangeburg Massacre, right? Who helped found SNCC, who marched with Marion Barry and Stokely Carmichael and Martin Luther King, and the list goes on and on and on. And he will tell you today that he feels like this country's at 1954. And so if you want to talk about somebody...
But that doesn't mean it is. Well, you said he feels that way. That's ridiculous. It is.
And the moment you refuse to fall in line with their philosophies or policies, Democrats immediately accuse you of wanting to drag America back to the Dark Ages. That's their favorite scare tactic. Paint anyone who disagrees as some kind of backward caveman. But let's face reality. America has come a very long way since the 1960s. Women not only vote, they hold powerful positions in Congress, lead Fortune 500 companies, and yes, run for president. In fact, we've already had our first female vice president, who also happens to be a woman of color. That milestone alone proves that the old narratives no longer hold water. America isn't stuck in the past. It's continually progressing, offering opportunities that were once unthinkable. But instead of celebrating how far we've come, the left insists on acting like nothing has changed, clinging to victimhood politics that no longer reflect the nation's reality.
I think the ridiculous notion is for either one of you all to have the audacity to believe that you understand what the experience is to be.
I have to object to that.
But you just said
I cannot talk about it because I am not part of a group. I am a sentient human being. You're right. There's two ways you cannot understand something. One is to be too far from it. We're too far from it. We can't see like you can. One is to be too close to something. And then sometimes you can't see it accurately either.
Bill Maher didn't hesitate to cut in when Barry Sellers started veering into race-baiting territory. Sellers argued that people of a different color could never truly understand what Black Americans go through. But Maher wasn't buying it. He pushed back, saying that perspective works both ways. Sometimes being too close to an issue can blind you just as much as being on the outside. Maher pointed out that Sellers, while passionate, might actually be so immersed in the narrative of racial struggle that he can't step back and see the broader picture. It was a bold but necessary reminder that understanding isn't determined solely by skin color, and that constantly framing discussions through race can cloud solutions rather than clarify them. Maher's challenge exposed a deeper truth. Proximity doesn't always equal clarity, and sometimes it takes distance to truly recognize the root of a problem. I'm not close to something, I am.
You're not too close to something. I am that.
I know.
And so, what I am saying though is for you to discount my father's experience and say that,
I'm not discounting it,
and to say it was silly.
I'm not.
No, he was shot.
No,
Were you shot?
No, but he's still alive. Like he's right here. Like
right, but the idea that if I were to say to you as a Jew that the experience of Jews in the United States today is worse than the experience of Jews in Europe in 1939, I would not be stating accurately. Correct. It's not true. It's also not true to say that the experience of black people in America in 2024 is worse on a general level than the experience of black men in 1954 in Alabama.